Hey, what's up, fellow gamers? It's BC, it's Alloy 7, and it's Tuesday, so you know it's time for one of our game discussions. Today we're going to talk about the two major factors I believe work in tandem to require that DLC or downloadable content exist in our current gaming industry. So the two main factors that I believe play into why DLC has to exist in this market. One is inflation, and two is a term called what the market will bear. And they work together to make DLC necessary in order for our industry to be sustained, at least from a AAA games perspective. This doesn't necessarily apply to indie developers who are able to get games done with much smaller budgets, but the Call of Duties and the Dragon Age Inquisitions of the world actually require this because of, one, inflation. So the cost of doing business increases over time. That's the way our economy works. The price of goods and services are going to trend upward in terms of how much they cost. Thus, the amount of money we have in our pockets is actually worth less because it can buy less. So $50, just to illustrate it, $50 20 years ago would go a lot farther than $50 would go today. And if you go on the Department of Labor and Statistics website, you can actually see a calculator that shows you if you bought something back in 1985, let's say you went and bought Adventure on the Atari 2600 back in 1985 and you paid $39 for it, it would show you that in today's money, if you were to walk into the store today under the same conditions but adjusted for inflation, that cost would be $130 for you to buy that game. Well, how are developers then going to sell me a game for $60, a complete game? Well, they're not. They're going to split the game up into sections, sell you pieces of it. They're going to sell you what's called the core content for $60 because that's affordable, but they really need to sell it for anywhere between $90 to $120 to properly recoup the amount of money it costs to develop the game. So you're going to get DLC. And that's where the second factor really comes into play, this what the market will bear. And what I mean by that is the market would go nuts. If you walked into GameStop today and every game cost $130, you would probably storm out of there, go on the internet and make videos about how much GameStop is evil and these publishers are trying to suck us dry of our money. And it's not so much about that as it is they have to make the amount of money necessary to recoup the cost that it took to make the game, but also to pay their people and also to make a profit because that's how they have more money to invest in games later on down the line. So the market would not accept games costing $130 per game. So what publishers have rightly done is they've said, well, people will still buy games at $60. That's tenable for this market. That the market will bear $60. We can't really afford to sell these major blockbuster games at $60, so we'll sell them, a core chunk of the game. It'll be, enough content to where they would be satisfied if they didn't buy DLC, but frankly, we're still going to split the game. We're going to come up with some ideas for what we could release down the line to charge them more money. The fact of the matter is, you're really paying anywhere from $90 to $120 for a complete experience. I think DLC is a necessary evil. As much as I hate it, it's never going to go anywhere for AAA games. But I really don't think DLC can go anywhere because these publishers and developers can't really sell you a complete game just for $60. Because, like I said, they need to sell it for $120, $130 in order to recoup that cost because of inflation. Because you have to remember, inflation is not just the products and services going up in a vacuum. Those products and services are going up because the cost to produce those products and services are going up because oil has to be bought to transport goods from point A to point B. There's so many things economically that play into it, this increase in cost. The developers have to be able to recoup their money. So I don't think DLC is underhanded or, robbing people. I think sometimes publishers and developers use it improperly and they do like put DLC on the disc and then you have to pay to unlock it. That is kind of ridiculous. I think they're somewhat stank about the way they dole out or the type of DLC. Like I think Oblivion had $20 for like some horse armor or something once upon a time. It was ridiculous. That's dumb. But I think when you get reputable, legitimate content in these increments, as much as I hate it, I understand why developers and publishers have to do it. So that's the two factors. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Do you have any other factors that play in? I would love to just be able to buy my games all at once and be able to play them all at once, not have to play them over a year span. I got kids, yo. I don't have time to play a game for a year. it just isn't a thing for me. I want to play it, sit down, be able to finish it in a couple weekends and move on. But that's my take. What's y'all's take? I'd love to hear what you have to say on the subject. Anyway, my friends, it's been a pleasure, as always, to come before you and for you to lend me your ears. I really do appreciate that. And if you're a first-time viewer here, I definitely encourage you to subscribe. We do videos like this every Tuesday. Be aware that coming in 2015, there's going to be quite a few schedule changes and shows moving around for some of you regulars. And if you're new here, this show will probably move to another day, but it'll still be around. Anyway, my friends, Species the Brain Supreme. Until next time, until all are one, it's me signing off. Peace and Godspeed.